Should podcasters use TikTok, which is a video platform, for their podcast? Let's answer that coming up next.
Podcasting, training and development.
Hey there, podcaster. My name is the Shan Man, radio broadcaster, podcaster, and podcast producer. And today's video brought to you by, of course, my essential equipment guide to starting up a podcast. The link for that is down in the description of this particular video. If you want to learn what equipment I'm using here to record this very video, and of course, the equipment that I use to record podcasts and edit podcasts, it's all in that particular guide. Again, that link is down in the description. Go ahead and download the guide today, and let's get started with building up your podcast. So today we're going to be talking about TikTok and whether or not you should be using it to promote your own podcast. Now, this is a question that came to me earlier this week as of this recording in a live feed that I had done on this very channel. It's an impromptu live feed that I had done, and there was a lot of people that came in, popping out, but there were some questions that had come in and wanting to know what they should do about TikTok and whether or not they should be using TikTok to promote the podcast. Now, I'm going to be straight with you. I don't have a TikTok. I mean, I do have a TikTok, but I don't have an active TikTok. I started a TikTok just so that I could watch the guy who was on the skateboard drinking the ocean spray. That was really the only reason why I got a TikTok. And then I've been able to go on TikTok and see other people's accounts and see how they're utilizing TikTok. Now, I can't say that I'm an expert or anything like that, but I did offer some words of advice of what you should be doing if you're deciding that you need to be on TikTok and whether or not TikTok is going to be something that is going to help grow your podcast. So I want to take you to that clip right now and share with you not only the question, but my answer. And then after the clip, I want to share with you some actionable tips that you can take with TikTok, regardless of whether or not I know how to use it. It's all the same philosophy that I've been talking about on this YouTube channel forever and ever and ever. So stand by for that. Here's that clip. Let's see here. How are podcasters using TikTok to promote their podcast? I can't honestly answer that because I just barely started a TikTok the other day. But if I had to venture out and guess, I would imagine that those people who are creating TikToks, and I don't know what kind of videos you would create. I mean, let's look at the guy who was on a longboard drinking ocean spray. I mean, that was just a total fluke. And now he's pushing into a lot of different areas. I mean, mainly what he's doing is just doing what he normally does. He just does the one thing that he normally knows how to do, and that is just be himself. And so I would say and encourage a podcaster, if they want to jump on TikTok, that you're always pushing someone to go to your website to listen to your podcast. That's going to be pretty important. You could always push them to a Spotify. You can always push them to an Apple podcast. You could push them to, Google Podcasts. You could push them to anywhere, any place. But you have to remember that, people listen on different platforms. And so that's why I always recommend pushing them to a website, because there you have all the information listed and then they can choose which platform they want to listen to. That's why I always say, have a website. That's like the biggest thing. That's one of the things that I get a lot. I mean, I still get a lot of people who come to my website and looking for answers and questions that come through, and people say, I don't really need to necessarily have a website, but I think that whenever you're using your website as a tool, that really just makes it a lot easier. So you don't have to just say listen to us on Spotify. You have to remember that there's also a segment of people that listen on Castbox. You have a segment of people that listen on Player FM. There's just segments of people that listen in certain areas. So I would much rather they go to the website. And of course, sending them to a website is also it's a pro tip play. That's a pro play. You're getting them on your website, and if you have things to offer to them on your website, that's always a good thing. So my advice there is pretty simple. It's more about, if you don't know the platform, get on it, but make sure that if you're going to create content, give people an ability to go to your website to discover more about you. This is advice that I've been sharing on this particular channel for quite some time. If you're new to this channel, or if you're new to this video, maybe you haven't seen some of those videos before, but I'm always telling podcasters to get someone off of your podcast and onto your website so that they can learn more about who you are when it comes down to the content that you create. Maybe there's content on your website that is more valuable. Maybe it's an area in which people can go subscribe to your Patreon. Maybe it's an area in which you're selling digital products. Your website is going to be very valuable in that aspect. And so I recommend that you have a website. Now, if you don't have a website and you're like, I just don't, I just want to push them to my Apple Podcast or my Spotify link, you could go ahead and do that within a TikTok itself as well. So I want to share with you a couple of things that you need to pay attention to when it comes down to TikTok. I'm sure you're very well aware of it, but if you have not gone onto the platform, I want to share a couple things with you that might help you. Now, before we get to that, I want to talk to you about Buzzsprout today. Buzzsprout is a place where you can host your podcast. Now, if you're someone who's just getting into the podcasting game and you're looking at different types of hosting, Buzzsprout might be your answer. Or maybe you are a podcaster who's having a difficult time trying to get listed in all the top directories. Buzzsprout makes it very easy for you to do that. They have reliable statistics and they make the process of uploading your podcast very, very easy and submitting it and distributing it to those syndication platforms. They also have a feature on their platform that allows you to create chapters within the actual podcast itself so that whenever it reaches syndication platforms, people can see the chapters in which your podcast is laid out, kind of like an audiobook. And that's one thing that I think is really cool about Buzzsprout. You can try them for free today for 90 days. Give them a try. You can learn more at buzzsprout.com. Now, when we look at TikTok and we think about who is using TikTok, we got to understand the demographics of who's using TikTok. Now, the statistics that I saw today on Oberlo.com was that the people who were using TikTok were mainly people who were between the ages of 16 and I believe 24 years old. It leans more towards the female side, and people are spending about an hour's time on the app itself watching this content. Now, TikTok is more short form content. It's 15-second increment. I'm sorry, you could go up to a minute increment, but you can have 15-second, and it has all these effects. You can get creative with however you want to create your content to get people interested in who you are. Now, is it something that I think I will end up using? I probably won't use TikTok, but I probably should, just because I know that someone who is 16, 17, 18 years old may be, is going to be 18, 19, 20 in a few years. So I have to understand that building content on TikTok would be nurturing them for something way down the line in the future. They may have seen me in the past, and of course, they may come run into me again on another platform where I have curated content. They would say like, oh, I saw that guy on TikTok many years ago. I've experienced this on YouTube where people say like, oh yeah, I've seen you on YouTube and I've seen your Instagram, and I remember you back in the MySpace days. So this is something that maybe you want to consider doing, getting on the platform so that you can start nurturing the relationship between you and your listeners so that later down the line, they are still acquainted with who you are. Now, as I mentioned, TikTok again is short form content. And the content that I have seen on the platform ranges. It could be anywhere from just pages where people are creating these unique refreshment drinks with like seltzer water and fruit, and that's all the TikTok page is. And it would be like a 20 to 30 second video of this person making these drinks and putting little captions in the actual TikTok itself. And I've subscribed to that channel. Actually, I've subscribed to cooking channels where people have made dishes. I've also subscribed to Gordon Ramsay, where he does a side-by-side collaboration where someone is making a meal and then he critiques the person cooking that meal. So it's a very creative platform. It's for a very creative individual who's looking to get on there. But I've also seen marketers on the platform as well, where they're sharing tips about marketing businesses and all that. So it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be on there, but I would give it some serious consideration if that is something that you think you need to promote your podcast. Now, how could you specifically apply this with maybe the podcast content that you're already creating? All right, let's look at it this way. All right, we have podcast content that maybe we create where we're doing a StreamYard and you're getting a side-by-side shot of you interviewing someone else, and you get the recording for that. You can pull it down and you can pull a 1 minute increment interview clip that you can utilize as kind of like an audiogram. If you've not seen my video on audiograms, there is going to be a link down in the description of this particular video, or you can see on the flyout card up here on your screen right now. But you can learn more about audiograms and maybe create something that is very similar to an audiogram. I wouldn't specifically create just an audiogram. I would create video, because TikTok is more video centric. You're looking for people who are creating video, and I would imagine that the platform would look down upon maybe just a waveform. So I would encourage you to actually create actual video. That means taking like a YouTube video interview or a StreamYard interview or a Zoom interview and transforming it into something that could be consumable on TikTok. There's a really great video that I watched right here on YouTube from Podcast School on TikTok. He breaks it down even more. I would encourage you to go ahead and watch that video over there. I'm going to leave a link to that video down in the description as well, so you can see what his take is on TikTok as well. So just to sum up, if you're going to get on TikTok, just understand your demographic and who you are going to be talking with. Are you doing it to nurture those people who will continue to be with you, or are you trying to get that actual traffic to your podcast? So really take that into consideration. If you're going to start a TikTok, what I would recommend that you do is you start curating all of your podcasting content, or maybe the video podcasting that you're doing, and start saving it onto a hard drive from Zoom or whatever, and then transforming it into shorter form content that you could put onto TikTok with captions and whatever it may be. One thing that I forgot to mention to you is that if you don't have a website, maybe you want to look into something like Linktree. Linktree will give you an ability to list a different links to different places on the web if you don't have a particular website itself. Linktree is used on Instagram, it's used on Twitter, it's very interchangeable. You can upgrade to certain plans in order to, I guess, get different themes and whatnot. You would have to look into it for yourself. I highly encourage that you do that research, but using Linktree might help you on TikTok to drive that traffic to your podcast. And last, if you can get away from Linktree, I would just recommend build a website, build a quality website where people can learn more about you. They can get onto your email list. They can get onto your podcast and subscribe. They can read your blogs. They can see photos of you at a live podcasting event. That is the area in which your assets will really come in handy later on down the line. Your social media is meant to be kind of help you do that, but your website is really going to help you when it comes down to getting people onto the website, and then later on, you can use a pro play when it comes down to advertising to them. If you like this video, go ahead and leave it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that little bell button so you can get notified when I drop a brand new video. It's been a while since I've done a video, so I'm happy to be back. I've got a brand new Mac computer that I'm able to edit video on much faster, and of course it is not 117 degrees here in Phoenix. We are finally in fall. Finally, we still had like a 100-degree day just the other day, so now we're in fall. We're under the 100-degree temperatures, and I'm just happy to have it a little more cool. Again, thank you so much for watching this week. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next time.